That's our first votes, and that's the wonder of democracy, whether you're a Democrat or Republican. And I wanted to point that out to be a little bit of the crank in the room following Brianna there. Stay off social media, people, if you're trying to figure out, are there really issues with votings? Trust your local officials, trust us here, trust a news source that you know, and trust, to be honest about this, they're doing their jobs and they're doing it right.
As far as I know, I believe I'm the only commentator that's right-wing on this platform that didn't predict a red tsunami. And there are reasons for why I did this, and I'll cover them in a bit. But first of all, I want to point out why the Republicans didn't do better. So, one of the main things that I have noticed, at least on social media, and I'm pretty sure that it translates into reality as well, is that Republican voters are incredibly demoralized. So, if you go to a leftist and you ask him, are you going to go to vote? They will be like, yes, absolutely, I'm going to vote. Almost every single left-leaning person that I know is incredibly motivated and wants to go to vote. Meanwhile, while you do have right-wingers that want to go to vote, you also had right-wingers that are like, nah, I think voting is cringe. Nah, it doesn't change anything. Nah, I'm not going to go to vote. So, because there is this level of demoralization that is happening among many right-wingers, the turnout was not that surprising. Secondly, the biggest strength that the Democrats have is that they created a system, which is probably going to carry into the next elections, where even the most laziest Democrat is going to have it very easy to vote. So they're basically like hounding their supporters. They're going into their homes, is making sure that they get to vote. And that's pretty much what I can say on this platform. But with that aside, I do want to point out the reason that I didn't expect a red wave to happen. Now, if you guys remember, and for those of you who watch my live streams, on September 13, Lindsey Graham said that he wants to introduce a 15-week abortion ban. And there were a couple of other Republicans that were supporting him. And this went into a massive backlash because all the Democrats started tying the Republican candidates into Graham's plan. And I stated that it is a horrible idea. And if I was to be a little bit more skeptical, I would even say that it's sabotage. Now, the reason I'm saying this is because at the time, the Democrats were getting BTFO'd on every single subject. The economy was fucked. The way they dealt with the pandemic was atrocious. They weren't able to justify the foreign policies, like especially what happened in Afghanistan. And they literally did not have a single platform. Like, the only platform that they would run was like January 6th, rah, 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 our democracy, blah, blah, blah. Like, that was literally what they were running with. So, when Lindsey Graham went and said this, he already gave the Democrats a platform. And as you can see, most of the people who voted cared about abortion. You gotta understand, a lot of Gen Z people went to vote. The turnout was a lot higher for teenagers than in other elections. And teenagers, they don't care about inflation, because they're not the ones paying the bills. Teenagers care about fucking. They care about sex. So when you talk about abortions, you're affecting them. And of course, if you do it so early, before an election, and you don't even have a debate, like the public is not ready for this, well, that's the result. In other words, many teenagers who wouldn't normally be interested in politics got very involved, and the Democratic turnout was a lot higher than initially expected. So this is why a lot of pollsters were probably wrong. Now, I have followed closely two particular races, which I found of somewhat noteworthy importance. One of them is in Pennsylvania, involving a Mr. Fetterman. Mr. Fetterman managed to win the Democrat primary, after which he ended up having an unfortunate accident and he had a stroke. Now, the doctors managed to save his life, but as is the case of many patients who have a stroke, you can suffer irreversible brain damage. Now, we were told by a doctor that there's nothing wrong and everything is fine, and Mr. Fetterman didn't appear in any debates for quite a while. And when he finally did appear in debates, well, things weren't so good.
Fetterman, we're going to begin with you. Your political experience includes serving as the mayor of Braddock, a small borough near Pittsburgh, and one term as lieutenant governor. You're running for a seat that could decide the balance of power in Washington. What qualifies you to be a U.S. Senator? You have 60 seconds.
Hi, good night, everybody. I think we have to fight about inflation here right now. That's what we need to fight about, inflation. Right now, because it's a tax on working families, and Dr. Oz can't possibly understand what that is like.
Well, things weren't so good. It turns out that Mr. Fetterman was unable to answer basic questions, was very confused about where he is, and the mainstream media, which initially was claiming that only conspiracy theorists would doubt the abilities and the capacity of Mr. Fetterman to function normally, because, you had a doctor, an expert, giving a stamp on his bill of health, all of a sudden changed the tune, and they were like, no, see, Mr. Fetterman is disabled, and disabled people have a right to be elected, and anyone that doesn't like Mr. Fetterman is ableist. I wonder why they didn't ask for the doctor to be fired. He did give a clean bin of health to a person that visibly, even by non-medical professionals, is having certain difficulties. But, despite all of that, Mr. Fetterman is now elected as the representative of Pennsylvania. Which goes to show that you can literally elect a sack of potatoes. Vote blue no matter who is no longer just a saying. It's a reality. It's a fact. With enough PR, with the support of the mainstream media industrial complex, literally anyone and anything could become a president or an elected official. I guess the mainstream media was a little confused when they were questioning Trump's health by, the fact that his hand was shaking as he was picking up a glass, or the fact that he wasn't presidential. All of those were ageist, ableist comments. That's what the Republicans should have come back with. Now, another race that I am particularly interested in is that of Kari Lake, which right now, as I'm making this video, the results aren't in. I do expect her to lose, of course, but the reason I like her is that she used to work in the mainstream media, and she quit one day saying that she is tired of lying to people, everything that she says on televisions are lies, and she is absolutely brutal to the press. For example, a CNN reporter once asked her if she has any comment, and she said that, yeah, she will give that comment only if it's aired on CNN+, because CNN+ went bankrupt due to the fact that it didn't have enough subscribers. No one was interested in paying money for CNN+. And there's a lot of burns, for example, she said this, and journalists are gravely concerned. The more concerned a journalist is, the more happy I am. My life happiness is translated into journalism concerning. And, it would have been interesting if I were to see more interactions between her and the journalists, at least Marjorie Troller Greene re-elected, and it's going to be fun to see more loosey stuff coming from her. As for the future, I do notice that the left-leaning press is trying really hard to push for a divide within the Republican Party by blaming this particular election failure on Trump. First of all, I don't understand how it is a failure, considering that the Republicans won the House. We don't know if they won the Senate or not, so maybe it is a failure, but at least wait for the voting to finish counting. People in Romania are bewildered over the fact, but what about the exit polls? They don't understand how the system in the United States works after the pandemic. We still don't know if the Republicans won the Senate or not, and this is 2 days after the elections. As for Donald Trump himself, last time I checked, he didn't run this particular election cycle. And the people he named, some of them managed to win, others didn't. When you have people in your party, like Lindsey Graham, talking about banning abortions and shit, and then the overwhelming number of people that are Democrats said that they were very concerned about that, and they went to vote particularly because of the abortion issue, I think more people should be blamed. Also, Trump is not Jesus Christ. He doesn't anoint people and they automatically win elections. The fact that he already anointed a couple dozens of them, and many of them did win re-elections, I don't understand where the blame is at. I do understand from a political standpoint that a house divided cannot stand, and they are trying to divide the Republican Party by instigating a feud between Donald Trump and DeSantis. Personally, I have nothing against DeSantis. I think he would make a very good president. However, I would like another Trump term and then 2 terms of DeSantis. And then you have 3 terms of more Republicans. Probably not going to happen. Still, from DeSantis' point of view, being the governor of Florida and having an ally in the White House and then getting federal money is probably a better political move. Then again, I don't know what he is going to do if he decides to run. Of course, there's going to be debates, and the media is going to most likely side with DeSantis in order to try to delegitimize the MAGA movement and consider that everything that has to do with nationalism is evil. The word Christian nationalism keeps coming up, and apparently it's very evil and scary. So that's what the future will bring. Yes, it's quite possible that we're going to see Republican Trump versus DeSantis with debates, with insults, and with everything else, with 2 factions forming. Who knows? We'll see. But let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you in the comment section. Take care.